Oh, I love it when you do that to me. You may be seated. This is wonderful, isn't it? There's an air of excitement in here with you ladies. I just love it. And we get to start out this revival together. Not that we're going to accomplish much, not that we're going to do anything to each other, but it's going to be good to be together. I have some papers. Somebody wants to pass them out for me? Whoever wants to. I think I made enough copies for everybody to get one. Tonight, I'm going to start us out talking about, watch out, she's going to blow. Have you ever heard anything like that before? Yes, you have, and you know it speaks to all of our hearts, don't you? Oh, but anyway, on the paper that you're going to get, you can use it to keep notes. You can use whatever way you want to use it, but I'm going to try to teach you something that I have been learning for my own self. I grew up all my life with a temper. Do you know what I mean by a temper? I mean, you just look at me in the wrong way, and I'll throw a fit, get mad at you, you know? So, about 6 years ago, 1999, I started going through that blessed time in my life, the menopause, the pause that does not refresh. I started going through that time in my life, and I noticed that my anger and my impatience was really, really bad, you know? So, what I've always done in my life whenever I've had a problem is I've always tried to do some kind of a Bible study of my sin problem. Now, really, I don't really like talking about this. Did you know that? I don't like even telling anybody I have a problem with my anger. You know what I mean? But the Lord told me I got to talk about it, so I got to talk about it. So I'm willing. I'm just willing. So about 3 years ago, I did a Bible study on patience because I felt like that I was just upset with people all the time. They never did anything as fast as I wanted them to do it. Do you understand what I mean? You know, I'm a fast person. I mean, as soon as I start to do anything, I got it done, you know? But I got people around me that I love that sort of take their time, and they're crazy. They think you're supposed to do it right the first time. You know what I mean? Or they like to do it just a certain way, and I think they should be doing it my way. You know what I'm talking about. So I did this Bible study on patience, and when I did the Bible study on patience, I noticed something. At the end of the Bible study, I noticed that really patience is just trusting God, that the situations that come in my life are there for my good and for God's glory, whatever the situation is. I didn't like that. You know, I wanted to blame my irritations on other people. So I did that study 3 years ago. Then I noticed it didn't really cure the problem. So I said, I got to go a little deeper, and I got to fix this problem, and I'm going to call it what it is, and that's anger. I've got a problem with anger. See, after I got saved, I thought I licked this problem of anger. You know, I thought I was pretty good, you know, and probably for the first 10 years, I hardly ever got mad at anybody, you know. I remember the situation that occurred in my life that I said, I have got to lick anger. When I first got saved, I remember that somebody made me mad. And I remember saying to God, I'd just gotten saved within 4 months, and somebody made me mad, and I said, see, God, that lady, she really made me mad. She did. And all of a sudden, I stopped in mid-sentence talking to God like that, and I said, nobody can make me mad unless I allow them to make me mad. And I thought, you know, I'm not supposed to get mad at people. Well, then this pause that doesn't refresh came in my life. And I always said that I think God's got a great sense of humor because he gave menopausal women teenage girls. Don't you think that's funny? Yeah, isn't that, it's ridiculous. All you girls that have little kids right now, just think. Add the numbers together and you'll be there too. So you'll understand what I'm talking about. But anyway, so I said I got to dig a little deeper, and so I got into anger, the word anger, and I admitted to myself, Loretta, you're getting angry at people, and you're not supposed to get angry. So I did this Bible study, and I'm going to teach you what I found out after I put in the two Bible studies together. Okay, and here it is. You can see it on your paper. See what it says under there. Watch out, she's going to blow. Speak when you're angry, and you will make the best speech you will ever regret. And how many of us have said something and said, oh, I wish I could take that back. Anybody with me on this? I want to know I'm talking to the right people. Don't you look at me all holy like you've never done anything bad. What is she talking about? I would never. No. But when you say something in anger, let me just tell you, you can't take it back. And I wish I could. And one of the things that bothers me the most is, okay, now do some math with me. How many years have I been into this problem with anger? how many years? 6 years, since 1999, so I'm going on to 6 years. How old's my youngest son? He's 10. And so how many years has he known his mom being this problem woman? 6 years. He don't even remember me being nice now, you know. He was 4 years old when I was nice. So it really bothers me that my son is growing up with all these memories of his mom spouting off and saying things she shouldn't say and being upset. And I thinking, oh, I really got to overcome this so that at least in the last, I've only got him probably about 8 more years, and in the last 8 years, I've got to get this under control so he can know a nice mom. This is how I think. I don't know if you're with me or not, but I really think this way. Well, yes, ma'am. It's loud? Oh, I'm glad you told me. She said that nicely. It's kind of loud. She wasn't trying to tell me you got a big mouth, Loretta. Did your preacher's wife do that right? You did that well. Okay, so let's get into the Bible study, and I'm going to teach you what I had to learn about this, and I think it's a great thought. See you'll see the progression. In my mind, impatience is the first step toward anger. Okay, see it right there? Impatience. That's what I think is the very first step toward anger. Then I think the next step is irritation. Now, I'm going to teach you what these words mean, but the next step is irritation. Then the third step is you're into anger. See, there's a progression. In my mind, I think there's a progression. First is impatience, then irritation, then anger. Then the fourth step is a Bible word called wrath. And I'm going to teach you what the Bible teaches us about that. Then the last and very worst anger that you can have, and it's 2 steps above anger, is malice. Okay? Now, let me teach you what the Bible says about those things. The first one is impatience. Now, Webster's dictionary says that impatience is an uneasiness under pain or suffering, the not enduring pain with composure. That's what Webster says impatience is. You're not enduring something with composure. Impatience is not rage. It's not absolute inability to bear pain, but it implies you're not able to cope with your life or with people around you. You know what's so funny about us? Most of us that are sitting in here and you are married, do you know what type of person you married? Usually, what kind of people attract? Opposites. What do you get impatient with? His opposite character traits. After you get to know him a little better, honey, some of you are still newlyweds. I can look in your eyes and see that you're still on the honeymoon. I'm so glad. Don't get over the honeymoon. If you can stay on it the rest of your married life, great. But I'm 20 years into this marriage, and all of a sudden, 6 years ago, I let myself start being impatient with my husband's opposites. Okay? Take, for instance, I am fast. Now, you all know my husband. You all know him very well. He's kind of slow moving, you know, typical cowboy, you know, especially when he's fellowshipping with people. You know, used to be, we'd be in a church, and after church, he'd still be in there sitting and talking for an hour after the church service is over. Well, look, I love people, and I love all of y'all, but 30 minutes after the service is over, I want to go to my trailer and do something. You know what I mean? I want to get something done. That's me. I want to work. So all of a sudden, I found myself being impatient with Kevin because he was staying around for an hour, and I thought he expected me to stay around too. So we had this talk, and now he lets me go whenever I want to go. He said, go, let me just stay here and have fun. I said, okay, you know, that's great. But see, I was impatient about that. That's stupid, isn't it? I should not want to speed him up. Neither should he try to slow me down. Now, what's naturally happened in 20 years of marriage is we've evened each other out. You know, his mother says that I've ruined him. That's what she tells me. Isn't that a nice mother-in-law? But what she means by that is he's a perfectionist, and I'm sort of a haphazard type personality. You know what I mean? I like to try to stuff square pegs in round holes, just so I can get the peg in there and get the job over with. That's how I think, you know? So, like this, you know, and Kevin is more, he would not put a square peg in a round hole. He'd find the round hole to stick the round peg in. You know what? That's how he thinks, you know? And he'd find the square hole. But and after being married 20 years, I think that, you know, he's not as particular. That doesn't mean he's a slob. There's nothing in his vocabulary about slob. You know, all his drawers, he's got aisles. You know what I mean by aisles? You know, when I put clothes away, and for him, I've got to do it in just a specific way to please him. And I want to please him, so I'm willing to do that. But My door's not that way. But anyway, but we have evened each other out a little bit. But it's easy for me to be impatient with him because he's not like me right now. You know? So impatience. Hebrews 12:1 says we're supposed to run the race that we're running with patience. Now, that implies to me that I have got to trust God that he brought a slower man in my life to make me a better person, to even me out. I talk to young girls, young married girls. I just talked to a young married girl several weeks ago, and she was talking to me about her husband. She married this guy that was an opposite to her, and she said, I don't know why I did this. And I said, well, the Lord knew that you needed. She is not a fun person. She's all work and no play. Do you know what I mean by that type of person? She's really goal-oriented, and she's got to get this job done. Well, God brought her a real happy-go-lucky, fun-loving guy. And sometimes she gets irritated by his fun-loving. Can you ever be serious? She told me. She said that to him one time, and I said, wait a minute. Now, when you said that to him, were you trying to put him down? And she said, and I said, like that, you know, because she was asking me for my advice, and don't ask me for advice unless you really want the truth. So anyway, I said, that is not really what we're supposed to do. You know, what you need to do is sit back and say, thank God I got a fun-loving husband, because I'd be a terrible mother without him. I know personally that because I've got a husband that takes time to have fun, that my kids are better kids. Because I am not going to be the initiator of fun. And I might schedule in my schedule because I'm supposed to do it. But it's not my first priority because I want to accomplish things. See, opposites. So my impatience is not putting up with other people's differences. You know, if everybody was like me, I think I'd like them better. That's not really true, right? You ever have a kid that's just like you? Oh, I have one that's just like me, and I feel sorry for the kid, you know? And I'm always telling him, learn from your dad. Do what your dad says. You're better off to be like your dad's teaching you now. Don't be like your mother. You know, I say things like that because he is better off, you know? It's just sort of slam bam, you know, and all this stuff. So I'm glad. So I'm just telling you, impatience. If you have a problem with being impatient with another person in your life, you need to recognize it as sin. It's really a sin. Number 2, irritations. Now look, irritations. Irritation is when you are provoked. Okay, that's what Webster says. It means to be provoked. Now let me notice something, Miss Tammy. I cannot be irritated unless I allow myself to be irritated. I've heard myself say this in the last 6 years. Oh, that just irritates the fire out of me. You ever said that? Or you probably don't use that terminology. I don't know where I ever got irritates the fire out of me. But I have, well, look, irritate, what is it? Is that Texan? I'm Texan, didn't even know it. I thought it was just hillbilly. I didn't know you Texans were hillbillies. But irritation, that means that you allow somebody to provoke you. Impatience just means you just, I can't put up with other people. And irritation means you are provoked, which means you usually do or say something you shouldn't say. That's the beginning before you get to, in my mind, that's when I'm close to anger. And anger is when you really spill over and do things you shouldn't do. See, people, if you have a junior age child that spills something, do you understand that the reason why they spill them? I have a child that, honest and truly, we had to teach that kid how to make rows. When he reached for things, every time we went to the table, he'd just run for the easiest route. And inevitably, when he ran for it would make spills and messes, and it made tension at the table, et cetera, et cetera. So I went to a lady, you know who Mrs. Evans is, Marlene Evans, was my mentor, somebody I valued her opinion and got a lot of counsel from her for years and years. I told her, I said, this makes a little bit of tension. What can we do to help make the family meal a better place? And she said, well, teach the child before the child sits down at the table, take them aside and say, now, look, if you want the salt, you got to move your drink away from the aisle so that there's room to go get it. Don't just think you're going to, and not make a mess. Isn't that seems strange, doesn't it? But she thought that any problem that your child had was a lack of you training them. Oh, I don't like that. I want to say they're just taking after their father. Right? You with me on that, honeys? Yes. But she thought that it was always if you're impatient with your child, about a certain thing that they are or do, it might be a lack of training. You say, you really have to teach a child to make, yes, maybe, that's possible. Sometimes it's there's personalities out there that maybe, when I was in college, I don't know if you had this problem, Miss Alyssa, but there were certain girls that I just couldn't stand being around them. Do you know what I mean? They're the real sweet girls. These were the ones that just sort of, like scratching your fingernails on the chalkboard. They just sort of, hi Loretta, isn't God good? Yes, it's a beautiful day, and although it's raining, it's still a beautiful day. I want to say, puke on you, woman. I like to be positive, but let's don't be so, I don't want to be so heavenly minded I'm no earthly good. You know what I mean? And obviously you can tell I'm not that heavenly minded, huh? But anyway, so it's easy to be impatient and get irritated with certain type personalities. Maybe that's you. Well, you got to recognize it, especially if it's somebody within your family that you're supposed to love and not be saying bad things to them. Okay? So we're talking about impatience, then we talked about irritation. Now, let's get to anger. Okay? I don't like to tell this story, but God told me I'm supposed to tell it, so I tell it anyway. Several years ago, I don't know if any of y'all know how much I like coffee. Do y'all know how much I like coffee? Oh, I think coffee's just the greatest. It's a comfort to me. I don't smoke. I don't drink bad drinks, at least I don't think. Diet Coke's that bad for you. I know there's a discretion on disagreement on whether that's bad or good. But anyway, it's not as bad as alcohol, let's put it that way. So if I want coffee, I want to be able to drink coffee, do you think I ought to have my way about this? I travel the country. I've given up a home. So I think I ought to have coffee when I write. Right, Miss Tammy? You agree with me? I hope you do. Anyway, so we were driving down the road. We were going across the New York Turnpike. I remember it like it was yesterday. We had gotten up early in the morning, like 6 o'clock in the morning. I hope you don't remember this, Jeannie. Please say you don't. It was about 6 o'clock in the morning when we got up, and I got a thermos, a little cup from the kids. That's what they get me for Mother's Day. They always get me a new cup because they know I like them hot, hot, hot. So they try to find the hottest cup, the cup that'll keep it the hottest. And so I drank a thermos of coffee, my little cup of coffee, and it was all gone, Miss Peggy. So we were driving down, and I said, look, Kevin, my coffee's all gone. I said, do you think we could, it was by this time it was 8 o'clock, 2 hours, I'd waited an extra hour. I'd supped on that coffee and drained it out as long as I could get it, But it was 8 o'clock and the kids were up, they were starting on their school, and I wanted some coffee. And I said, oh, do you think we could stop and get some coffee? And he said, oh, sure. Now look, when a man's driving down the road, he is not thinking about your needs, is he? No. He's thinking about getting there. One of the things, my husband used to say he wanted a 100-gallon tank on our truck. Oh, my kidneys. I said, they can't take it, honey. No. He used to tease about buying one, putting it on the back of that white truck, and I said, oh, please don't do that to me. But anyway, they don't like to stop. They want to get somewhere. Well, I'm trying to help him see where life is much pleasanter if you stop every couple hours and get out and walk around and enjoy the journey, anyway. But 8 o'clock, right? And I asked for coffee. Well, on this turnpike in New York, I don't know if you've ever been there, but they only have these plazas, these travel plazas. And they're usually like 30 miles apart, like that. So I'm sitting there helping the kids with their school, and all of a sudden I see a travel plaza coming. I was like, oh, praise God, my coffee's coming. This is going to be great, Well, he drove right by it. Well, all of a sudden, do you ever do this? It wasn't the principle that he didn't get my coffee. I started dredging up all this stuff from the back of my mind. He didn't stop on purpose because he didn't want me to have any coffee. He thinks coffee's bad for me. And I don't want a husband telling me what I can drink and what I can't drink, as long as it's not liquor and against the Bible. I started thinking all these wild thoughts. Now, if I would have stopped, if I would have been over here, if I'd have realized where I was, I'd have stayed over here and kept my mouth shut. I'd have stayed just patiently waiting for him to stop at the next one. I could have nicely said, oh, look, a travel plaza. We just missed it. But I let myself go to the irritation point. Man, get me up 6 o'clock in the morning, make me leave this early. making me travel all over the country and have to wait for coffee when I want coffee. I should be able to get it when I want it. And having to ask. I don't even have to ask. I wish he'd ask me if I want coffee. He's supposed to take care of my needs, isn't it? You ever do this? You just start adding to it and add to it. I just put it all on me, right? So here I am, irritation, and then I just said, forget the whole thing, and I got all the way over here to anger, and I blew up. I said, Kevin, you just passed that travel plaza, and that's where you're supposed to go up and give me some coffee. And he went, what happened? And really, that's how they think. You know that? That's how men think. He did not intentionally go past that travel plaza. I thought he did, though. You know, I'd already blown it up in my mind. You know, he didn't want me to have any coffee, and he don't care about taking care of my needs. And so I said, yeah, and like this. So after I blew up, now, if I was a smart woman, I'd shut up right then. But I'm a very hard-headed woman. So here I am blowing up. You just don't care about me having any coffee. And he said, I didn't really see it. I said, oh, sure. You didn't see the travel plaza coming? I told you 10 miles back that I want a cup of coffee. Well, then all of a sudden, and this is not the fun. The story's funny because you can see me doing this. And I hope you're laughing because you can relate to it on your own way. I don't know. It's not coffee probably, but something else. So all of a sudden, I'm blasting my husband. And I look back in the back seat. All 3 kids are just sitting there like, what blew up? It was awful. And that's what you do to your kids. They don't really like it when mom and dad fight. It makes them feel very insecure. It makes them feel like the next thing is divorce court. You know what I mean? And I felt like it at that time. Anyway, I mean, that's a principle. You ever said that's the principle of the situation? Who cares about principles? Some of us need to throw our principles in the garbage, you know, and just live right and do what the Bible teaches us, right? Which the Bible says in Proverbs 29:22. I better get the Bible into this, don't you think so? An angry man stirreth up strife. You see, whenever you allow yourself to be an angry woman, you stir up strife. It hurts you. See, if I'd have stopped myself way over here when I said, now look, this is really how I'm supposed to think. God allowed Kevin to not be with it enough to see that travel plaza. And God didn't want me to have any coffee yet because God allowed Kevin to not notice the travel plaza. And if I just take it all through these steps of God did this instead of saying, Kevin doesn't care. He did. You know, I want to blame it all on him. But see, anything that comes in my life, God allows. You say, does God care about you having coffee? I think so. I'm telling you the truth. If I'm going to live my life trusting Him and trusting every situation in my life to Him, that means, I can't tell what that clock says. Is it wrong? Is that why I can't tell? I thought, man, I don't know what time it is back there. What time do you have, Miss Joyce? 7. That's what time I have. Okay, then I'm right. Okay, I just thought, oh no, did I talk over? 9:20. This is terrible. I've been talking a long time. So anyway, so if I really and truly, and take it a step further with your kids, how many of you women are yelling at your kids? You know what? Your kids can't take us yelling at them. They can't. You know what happens when you yell at your kids? It makes them nervous. It makes them feel like they can't please you. It makes them feel like there is no pleasing mama. There's nothing good out there. Jeannie, I asked her to do this. I don't usually ask her to do this, but she knows you all so well. I thought she'd do it. Come up here, would you? I'm going to teach you what I've taught Jeannie to do to take care of mama when mama's in one of them moods. I remember the time, this is what's good about me, is I can remember my biggest sins. And I can remember when I did it to the person. We were in that trailer, and I had given Jeannie, ever given a girl a list, or a teenager, any kind of kid a list? I want you to go do this, 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 and this, right? 4 things. Now, Jeannie's a little bit of the personality that wants to take her time and get it done right. She's crazy. Just hurry up. Whatever happens, happens, But she likes to do things right. So she was taking her time and doing things. And I'd given her this work to do, and she came back to me, and she sort of acted like, I don't know what I was supposed to do. Well, she said that to me. She said, I don't remember what I was supposed to do. Well, I probably rattled it off too fast for her in the first place. Number 2 is, because I know that she's so precise about wanting to do things, that I should have written it down for her. See what I'm doing? I'm putting the blame on myself. You know what, ladies? That's where you need to place the blame. Don't place it on that poor kid that can't please you. Place it on yourself and evaluate your leadership enough to be honest and say, I'm not leading that kid right. I'm not doing something right with him. So I said to Jeannie, what do you mean don't remember what I told you to do? And I started going through it. and all of a sudden, her face, you can see it on their face. Some of these teenagers are sitting here, you're saying, give it to her, give it to her. No, they're not doing that, I promise. I saw it on her face, just hurt, like shell shock. One of those kind of situations. So we have talked since then, and now when I get out of control, which I'm afraid to tell you this, but it's the truth, I do get out of control. I let myself get impatient, irritated. I get to anger. I have not got to the other two yet, and I'm going to teach you what those are just for the fun of it, but I haven't got to the other two yet, and I hope I never do. But I'm ashamed to admit that I get angry, and I shouldn't do that. These kids love me, and I love them, and I shouldn't do it. So what have we talked about and decided that you could do to me? And she has to do it with the right spirit and the right attitude, or else I'll jack slap her. Doesn't that mean like this? She's looking at me like I did something bad. It means just like this, right? Jack slapping, is that a bad word? Oh, I didn't know it. I just thought that meant go like this, Forget that. X that out of your minds. That's a word I wish I'd never said. I don't know what it means. Don't tell me. Look, I'm getting embarrassed. Don't tell me till tomorrow. Oh, I know I said something bad because she went, oh. I told you I didn't say bad things, but I guess I do. Anyway, so I said, you got to say it in the right spirit because I am your mother. I'm not your best friend that you can just talk any way you want to with. So what do you say to me now when I get in the wrong spirit?
I say, Mom, I really am trying to please you.
Now, when she says that to me in that spirit, that's my cue to shut up. Back up, evaluate, right? Okay, thank you. You're gorgeous. What? Well, you have to, then when you're not mad, I'm glad you asked that. I don't mind. And he would do that just to get by. Oh, well, whenever you're not in the heat of it. See, Mrs. Evans taught me when dealing with teenagers to ask lots of questions. Oh, 7. Well, oh, he's so good at it. Okay. Well, she taught me when I was working with teenagers to ask questions to them. If they are more mature young people, when you're not angry, see, this is the key. When you're out of the emotions of it. Sometimes we need to send ourselves to our room. You got a room to send yourself to, don't you? Even I got a room to send myself to. I can shut the door, I can still hear everybody and know it. But I can send myself to. Sometimes you need to send yourself to your room so you can calm down. Go through the stages of anger, get over the irritation, get through to the patience where you say, now God allowed this. Did I do anything? And I've got some steps to go through. I better get to them. But anyway, wrath is violent anger. I'm going to finish answering your question in just a minute, okay? I'm not letting it by. Violent anger, vehement exasperation, indignation. A Bible illustration of this is in Esther chapter 2, King Ahasuerus. The way he treated Vashti, he got so, he had wrath. Real wrath. Then malice is extreme enmity of heart, ill will, personal hatred, a disposition to injure others. Malice is 2 steps over from anger, and that's when you plan to do wrong. You ever seen a woman that I've heard of women that have done bad things to their children, right? And you say, oh, it was just anger. No, the ones that woman that drove her kids over into the ocean, I think that was a planned malice. She was angry at those kids for keeping her from that man, and so she planned it and she did it. You've heard all kinds of illustrations. We don't need to talk about it. There's sick people in this world. But you know what? Any of us are capable of malice if we aren't careful. If we don't get control of our anger. See, all of this, it's ridiculous to say you're not going to ever be angry. What is practical is to say, I am going to learn how to control my anger. I still have anger, but I'm trying to learn how to control it and say, now, God allowed this in my life. I'm not supposed to get angry about it. And what am I supposed to teach the person? So let me give you these 3 points. It's just 3 points. Number 1, and you can see on that paper I've given you all these scripture, and just bathe yourself in scripture that'll help you with your anger. But these 3 points, number 1 and foremost is you got to admit the truth. You got to call it what it is. I have an angry personality. I get angry easily. Whatever it is you need to tell yourself, whatever wakes you up. All of us have different things that wake us up. You need to say that to yourself. I am an angry person. Number 1, admit the truth. Number 2 is analyze your anger and look at your options. Okay? When when you look at your options, you're saying, now what is irritating me? Go over here and say, do I get angry with this kid because of this? Do they do something that makes me angry, that makes me fly off the handle? Analyze it. Figure out what is causing it. Then as you analyze it, now say, what options do I have? My option, like in my situation, was to teach the child how to make an aisle to get to the salt instead of just grabbing for it or asking for it. You know, teaching them, training them. Sometimes we get angry at kids because they're kids. I know a woman that she's got 2 boys and it drives her crazy because they always want to wrestle each other. You ever know that about boys? They just, you must know that, Miss Leanne. Don't you get tired of them boys wrestling? And when they're wrestling, they lose control and they break things all the time. You know, Joe said to me last night, he said, Mom, he said, you won't let me wrestle. I said, I won't let you wrestle. You and KW, that's all you do. They didn't used to like each other. I liked it better when they didn't like each other. You know, the age difference was so much, and Jeannie and KW were so close that they didn't. But all of a sudden, in the last year, that's all they do. They want to wrestle each other and like this, and KW gets him in the arm. And KW is, 3 times Joe's size, So there's really no contest, but Joe just keeps on trying, And so he said, you don't let me wrestle. I said, I don't let you wrestle. He said, no, and we're driving down the road. I said, there's no room to wrestle in this motorhome, Joe. And I had to talk this all through him. I wanted to say, what do you mean I don't let you wrestle? I let you wrestle all the time. I have to put up with you. You know how you are. You just want to say, it just comes spewing out of you, just like a volcano. I just come spewing out. Well, I just said, now, when you said that, this is where you're at. When you said I don't let you wrestle, what do you mean? And so he said, when we're traveling down the road, and I said, Joe, there's just no room for you to wrestle. See the difference? When I'm calmly talking it out. See, kids need my calmness. It gives them security when I'm calm. You have a nervous kid? It might be because you are causing it. I'm not putting my finger on anybody and saying, I don't know. I cannot even tell you this from a big talk. I'm just telling you how God's had to work in my life. So look at your options. Is it disobedience? If it's disobedience, some of you need to draw the line and decide what you can do to fix that kid. Get counsel. Find a woman in the church or your preacher. Go talk to your preacher and ask advice about, you have a child that has a severe problem. And ask, because you need one-on-one to know how to fix a problem. Maybe it's the kid that's irritating you. It sounds like in your situation that he's a severe situation. He's going to need a lot of training. It's going to take you a lot more than me. But I thought my boys took a lot more than Jeannie. Seems like boys take a lot more energy to fix them. And I thought they were just plain. I remember crying to my husband, these boys are, I remember with KW, he's a heathen, he's never going to live for God. I said that about KW. Then, lo and behold, Joe came along, and then when Joe was 4 years old, I said, I can't get Joe under control. He's gonna be a criminal when he grows up. I remember thinking that way, But it just took a lot more time to train that boy and having right attitude and making sure that I've got one that's real sneaky. Do you know what I mean by sneaky? Do you relate to the sneakiness? They sneak around and do things. As soon as I catch that kid, and I watch a lot. So I can catch that kid, because mama's got to catch him so God don't have to catch him when he gets to be an adult, right? Oh, I know fear. I know what fear is, because I fear that my kids aren't going to turn out right. They aren't grown yet. They could turn out wrong. I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not in any way, shape, or form. But I just tell you, I have learned how to try to fix things and evaluate, look at my options. The third and last thing is talk it out when you're not angry. That's what I did with Jeannie. I said, when I calm down, I said, Jeannie, I need your help. When I get out of control and you feel like I'm being unjust, and I am a human. I am human. I'm a human person. So sometimes I need a very respectful reminder that I'm out of control. And that's what she does for me. Now, Kevin, he made up his own thing. Want to know what he does to me? He say, Loretta, I am not the enemy. Jump back. That's my little cue. That's when he says that, I know I'm out of control. The other day, last Sunday morning, do you remember, Jeannie? I was standing at the, why is it while you're doing something, they always think they got to, I'm thinking about it, I'm being joyful, maybe singing a song, and I'm putting makeup on, got to paint the barn. But anyway, so I'm at the mirror, and the kids had had it was a couple weeks ago, and they had something going on with their throat, and I'm usually in charge of making them well, you know, so I started giving them vitamin C and colloidal silver and sinus medicine. You know, I got a little ritual of things I do. And so Sunday morning I got up and I met there, and Kevin said, Loretta, are you giving the kids any medicine? It just hit me wrong. You know, like, what am I, chopped liver? You know, that's what I thought. So he's standing there and he asked me that. Now, what he wanted to ask me was, are you giving them vitamin C? But he said, are you giving me any medicine? When he said it, I thought, you don't think I'm a good mother. You know, I said that. You don't think I'm a good mother. What do you think I am? Why I wouldn't take care of my own kid? You know, it just hit me wrong. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, from the front of the motorhome, all the kids are just looking like, what's going on here now, you know? And Kevin said, Loretta, I am not the enemy. I didn't say another word. That's my cue. Shut up. At least he doesn't say shut up, you know? And see, I need that. And then we need to be able to talk things out when I'm not upset, because I always say things I regret when I'm upset. I don't think any of you have these bad of problems, and I don't know why the Lord wants me to go around the nation talking about how bad I am. I'd like you all to think I'm the most wonderful mother and wife in the world. I just wish I could say it, but I know I'm not. But I don't know if anybody in here has a problem with anger, but I'm encouraging you with this. You've got to get it under control. For your sake, for your family's sake. You know, usually the people we get angry with are the people we love the most. That's who I have my short fuse with, because I know they got to stick with me. They aren't going to run. I wouldn't do that to some of my friends because I'm afraid I'll lose a friend, right? You know, that if I'm so ugly to them, they're not going to stay around. But with my family, I know I got them forever. I know they're going to love me. It's blood, you know. With kids, it's blood. You got to keep me as your mama. You can't get rid of me. You can't. I know kids are divorcing themselves, but I know you wouldn't do it. You're right with God. So I just feel like I can get angry, and it's wrong. So I don't know if anybody else has a problem with it, but I'm asking you to evaluate. Number one, admit the truth. Stop and evaluate and analyze it. And look at your other options, what you can do instead of mouthing off. And number three is, when you're not upset, try to talk it out. Talk through those situations with the kids or with your husband and help them to grow and learn. You know, relationships, that's what our our lives are all about, is relationships. And we got to learn how to deal with people in the right way. Father, thank you so much for these good ladies that have sat here and listened to this. Lord, you know I really don't even care to talk about this kind of stuff, but I know that you want me to, and I'm thankful that you're working in my life that I'd overcome it. And I pray that you'd continue to help me to overcome it so that someday I could say, I haven't gotten angry in weeks, months. Lord, please bless these ladies as they've heard. Help them to recognize the needs that they have in their lives. Now, ladies, every time that you hear a challenge, not because it was me that gave the challenge, I think this is a scriptural challenge. I think I got it from the Word of God. It's good for you to analyze, evaluate for yourself. Anybody here, you say, Loretta, I don't have a problem with anger, but I think I got some problem with impatience and irritations, and I need the Lord to help me work on that in my life. Anybody like that? You'd raise your hand, admit it. Wonderful. Thank you for your honesty. Put your hands down. Is there anybody here and you admit to yourself and to God that you have a little bit of a problem with anger? And you need to overcome a little bit of that. Oh, thank you for your honesty. I'm going to pray that God helps you. Now, I'm not going to ask anybody to raise their hand. But if some of you are sitting here and you have a severe problem with anger, and it might be getting close to wrath and malice, a little talk like this won't help you. Your problem's a step more severe, where if you're the abusive mother that puts terrible bruises on her child, you need more help than just this little talk will give you. And may I encourage you, I don't have you raise your hand because I don't want you to feel like you have to, but may I encourage you to go see your preacher and say, I'm abusive. I know women that are abusive to their husbands. I mean, physically abusive and emotionally abusive. They just list all the bad things about them and just rake them over the coals. That's a severe problem. Sometimes you plan this evil that you'll do to them, and that's not good. So I ask you to think about it and get some help with that if that's your problem. Father, thank you again for your goodness. Thank you for this good church that planned this time, and help us now to get the most out of what we can and help the right person get the right gift. Amen.